Congratulations, you're ready to retire. So now what? That's what I thought. You got nothing. So really the question is, how are you going to spend your time now that you're in retirement? Good news is, we have a fair amount of research and data that we can share with you, studies and surveys of current retirees to help you make the transition from working to going into retirement. So as you get ready to retire, is this your idea of retirement? Or might it be more like retirement? I have the number 49 there, and the reason 49 is there is because that's the average number of hours a retiree spends in retirement watching TV. And if that doesn't sound like torment, I don't know what is. Have you seen daytime TV lately? Crazy. So think about this. You've probably been working, let's say full-time, maybe 40 hours a week, throw in some commute time, some getting ready to go to work. You've probably been spending about 50 hours a week working full-time. You go into retirement and you're going to spend 49 hours a week TVing full-time. Does that sound like your idea of retirement? Maybe, not mine. So if you don't want to be watching 49 hours of TV a week, what is it that you want to be doing instead? That's what we really want to focus in on. So a lot of times, retirement planning, retirement income scenarios, retirement planning in general seems to be about money. But it turns out that money in retirement really isn't all that important when it comes to making a meaningful or a satisfying retirement. Instead, not having enough money can definitely cause anxiety and stress. But studies tell us just having more money doesn't make you happier in retirement. If my 401k is at $100,000 and it goes up 10% when I'm in retirement, am I 10% happier? No. Not having enough money definitely can cause stress, but having more money doesn't make for a more successful or a more meaningful retirement. So what does? Turns out it's three things. First, aging well is tied to generosity, this idea of giving. And there's really three areas that when it comes to giving that really matter. And think about this. What are you going to have more of now in retirement than you've probably ever had at any point in your life? Probably more time, right? Maybe an extra 49 hours a week or so. And you can be volunteering with that time, for instance. You can be helping organizations that you believe in. Second, you've probably got decades of experience that you can be sharing with others. So you can be mentoring others. And so can you give away your expertise that you've collected over the years? And third, if you do have sufficient money, then giving some of that away to families, friends, charities, whatever the case may be, can again make for a more meaningful, more satisfying retirement. So that's the first point. Be generous. Be ready to share with others. When we're working, our identity is typically defined by our work and our career and our family. Once we retire, these studies tell us that our identity is primarily defined by our leisure activities, which brings us to the second key point. You got to stay busy in retirement. Now, some examples. Women, for instance, like to engage in personal activities like reading, maybe spending time with family, or socializing with others, caregiving. Men are a little bit different. They like to be engaged in sports, and maybe they're continuing their career activities. Maybe they've been part of a trade organization for years and want to just keep going to conferences just because they enjoy staying current on their particular career. Or the third thing, working full or part-time. And again, whether it's paid or not paid isn't the point. The main point is staying busy. And these studies show us that the magic number is 10. 10 or more activities per week leads to a much more satisfying life in retirement than, say, just engaging in 1 to 4 activities. The third thing that really matters, it turns out, in retirement are relationships. And there's this really interesting study from Harvard. It was a 75-year study. They looked at, I think, over 700 individuals, and they tracked them all throughout their entire career. Basically from college, high school, college, all the way through their careers, all the way into their final years of life. They looked at their incomes, they looked at their health, they looked at their relationships, they studied pretty much everything. And these individuals were sort of, some of them came from very well-to-do economic backgrounds, some came from very poor economic backgrounds. And what they found when they got to the end of this study is that, when these individuals got to the end of their lives, and they asked them and said, what really, really matters now in life? And they all said it was relationships. So relationships really, really are key. And what we find is that what the studies tell us is that these social connections are really, really good for us. They're good in a health sense in that they help us to live longer. In fact, these same studies show that isolation, being alone, can actually kill. In fact, it's as bad as like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's what isolation can do for you. But having good social connections can make for a longer life. And it's not just any relationship that counts. Think about this. It's the quality of the relationship that matters. You can well imagine if you've been married to somebody for 30, 40 years and you've fought and bickered the whole time, that's probably pretty stressful and it's not made for a very happy life. And we know stress, anxiety, all those things tend to shorten our lives. But having warm, nurturing, caring relationships, that's what helps to extend our life expectancies. So you want to maximize those, you want to minimize any of those really stressful relationships. And if you're not sure, you really want to know what kind of relationship you have with somebody, studies also tell us how you celebrate with that person can be a key insight into the quality of your relationship. When something good happens in their life, if you celebrate, you're happy about it too, that's a pretty good indicator. If on the other hand you're thinking, well, I can't believe that happened to them, that's not fair, should have happened to me, probably not a good indicator of a good quality relationship. The other advantage of having these good, warm, nurturing relationships is that they also protect your brain, because we know Alzheimer's and dementia can be a real problem nowadays. Having high quality, caring, nurturing relationships actually protects your brain. Don't know why yet. I'm sure studies at some point down the road will tell us, but these studies also show us that relationships protect our body because we live longer. They also protect our brains. Our memories stay sharper as a result of these relationships. So here's your homework in retirement. You need to actively replace your workmates with some new retiremates. In other words, you got to go out and make some new friends. Odds are all your buddies from work aren't going to retire at the same time that you do. And because they're not, you're going to have to go out and find some new folks. They're probably not going to come find you. So you're going to need to go out and find some new retiremates. If you've had the chance to see the movie called The Intern, you've seen a pretty good story. If you haven't, I'd encourage you to go out and rent it. And here's why. Robert De Niro's character, he's an older gentleman. He's gone through a typical life, and now he's reached retirement, and he's asking some good hard questions about what does it all mean? And you'll see in the movie how this pans out. But the first 2 minutes of this movie have a wonderful opening dialogue. And the dialogue, I think, really, really encapsulates the challenges and sometimes even the fears that we have when we face retirement. And so in there's this great quote from De Niro's character where he describes retirement as this ongoing, relentless effort in creativity. And I think that's a pretty good quote. When you stop and think back, okay, 49 hours of TV in retirement? Or how am I going to put that time to use? How am I going to fill that time? That's that ongoing, relentless effort in creativity. Because things change over time. And again, TV, or maybe lots of activities like we talked about earlier. So to sum it all up, be generous. Be generous with your time, with your expertise, with your money. Get busy, 10 or more activities. Make some good friends. Make sure you've replaced your workmates with some new retiremates. And if you do all that, then retirement, that ongoing, relentless effort and creativity, really will be fulfilling, meaningful, and satisfying for you.